How's it going? This is Keanu Yamamoto with the Coachers Podcast, in here with Coach Jim Shapiro, head football coach at Kings High School in Seattle, Washington. 28 years at the helm, deep playoff runs, 11-time academic state champions, 6-time league coach of the year, and in 2012, Washington State Coach of the Year. Coach Shapiro, thanks for hopping on. Let's start with the roots. Tell us about your family, your journey, background, all that good stuff.
Yeah, man, thanks for inviting me. I'm honored to be on it. Let's start with family. It actually all starts probably 30 plus years ago. I was playing college football at Azusa Pacific University, and there was a cute athletic trainer there taping up my ankles and taping up my wrists. She was from Portland, Oregon. I was from Seattle, Washington, and young love happened. And by the time my senior year, halfway through my senior year, I had transferred to Pacific Lutheran University to play football. She had graduated, and we got married. So that was January of 1994, which was a long time ago. Since then, had two kiddos early on, so my daughter now is 29 years old. She's a mother to 3 kids, which are my grandkids now, live in Arizona with her husband. And then my middle son is 26. He is in med school, learning to be a doctor, wants to be a pediatrician. And then our family was heavily involved in foster care for many years. We had 24 different kiddos come through our home at different places and different stages, from infants to teenagers. And number 25. God had us wait for a bit. Our son Kai was our third. He came to us when he was 6 weeks old, and he is now 15 and a half. Freshman for me at Kings, a long, lengthy defensive end, crushing it there at the running back and defensive end. So that's our family. Yeah, born and raised in Kenmore, North Seattle. Was a soccer kid. Played soccer for a long time, played competitive soccer, played in Europe for a summer when I was 16 years old. Was going to be on the soccer track, but my football team, which happens to be Kings, is where I went to high school, needed a kicker. And so I turned out to be a kicker. My junior year was relatively quick, ended up being a receiver, defensive back, and then fell in love with the game. Senior year, had a great year, and then went on to play college ball. So end of early to mid 90s is where everything kind of started for me. And since then, just living the dream, being a coach, being a dad, being a grandpa, being a husband, and running a little consulting company helping nonprofits. So that's the basics of it.
And that's pretty cool, Coach. Talk to me a little bit about your time in Europe playing soccer, and what kind of made you want to transition from soccer to football? Obviously, you mentioned you said you needed a kicker, but I mean, I feel like that's a big switch right there as far as passions.
Well, first of all, my hair was down to here. I had the old 80s soccer haircut, kind of the business in the front, party in the back. Love soccer, and actually went with Seattle Pacific University on their development squad to go play. We spent 5 weeks in Europe playing 16 different teams, all different ages, and it was a highlight for me. And I really thought soccer was going to be my next level game. But yet, accidentally, maybe intentionally fell into football. Like, they needed a kicker, And so when I turned out, I just realized this game of football is so unique and so special, and just fell in love with the whole concept of what it had to be on the field, also what it kind of gave you as a man off the field. It's a hit or get hit contact game, and it became something pretty special in my heart, and obviously became something that I've now lived my life through.
Yeah. Did you kick in college, or did you play receiver DB in college?
So played receiver. Actually, at Azusa, I was a receiver, and then PLU, they didn't have receivers. They only, in their package, they had running backs and tight ends. They would move their running backs and tight ends out to receivers, but that's how they named them. So they put me in at running back, and ended up being a slot receiver, a possession receiver for them at PLU. And in '93, we were honored and blessed enough to win the national championship at our division. Played against a guy by the name of John Kitna, who was at Central Washington. The young guy when we were seniors. So there's a lot of Pacific Northwest roots in that early '90s, mid '90s realm. Yeah, played receiver and had a great time.
Tell me about your experience with Coach Frosty Westering. Obviously, I played at Linfield, Coach at Linfield. So you got Frosty Westering and you got Ad Rutschman, and then I played a season out in Germany.
Right on.
And then Kellen came out, and Kellen was like on a 2-week contract. His grandson, Kellen Westering, came out. So I got to know Kellen, and we stayed in the same house together, and we got to know each other. And so tell me about that experience.
Here he is right here. Here's Frosty.
Love the bobblehead. Love it.
Yeah, Frosty for me was a game changer, not just in football, but also in life. And I spent 2 years down at Azusa Pacific. Great school, great kids. And the coaching style there was just different for me. Every coaching style is different. I think we all coach the way that we were coached. And I had a coach down there that wasn't really my style of a guy. He was a yeller, a screamer, kind of put you down kind of guy, try to motivate you through a little bit of fear, which is kind of the typical way coaches motivate, I think. And that, I went down there, I was an all-state receiver. I was pretty athletic and able, and I just became a shell of a player. I was playing in fear. I was trying to perform for man. Like, I wanted to make this guy happy, and I couldn't catch a football. Like, it was just awful. So I really transferred because of football. Frosty had recruited me out of college, and if you were around Frosty at the time, it was not a flashy recruiting scene. It was very basic. He didn't have much to offer in the way of all this kind of shining and glow kind of stuff, but he really was all about building men. And so I transferred to PLU, and I'll tell you a really long story short, but I was going to practice for the first time, and I was used to playing in fear, underperforming. And I get to the practice field, and I'm in the receiver line, and I drop my first pass. And I'm thinking, man, someone's going to yell at me, they're going to scream at me, they're going to put me down. And all I hear from across the field is, Shapiro, catch the ball. Okay, that's different. I get back in line, and I'm still playing in fear. I drop the next one. The voice gets closer to me. He's like, Shap, don't worry about it, man. Catch the next football. It was Frosty. He kept getting closer and closer to me. I get back in line. I drop the third football. Like, I'm maybe kind of testing.
You went 3 in a row?
3 in a row, dropped them all. I'm supposed to be this all-state kid, fast guy, all that. Frosty comes, now he's moved from, 100 yards away to 50 yards away. He sees me, he gets next to me. So the very last time I dropped the football, he puts his arm around me. He says, Shap, you don't need to be afraid anymore. Just catch the football. He was such a sports psychologist. He knew that he had damaged goods in me. He knew what I needed, and I needed love, not fear. And I don't think I ever dropped a football again. I'm sure I did, but I don't remember playing in fear anymore. And so Frosty was really just one of these guys who used love, not fear, as a motivator. And sometimes that was tough love, because he's a big Marine, shaved head. He's going to come at you, but he used love as a motivator, including tough love. So that's my storyline. Frosty was a game changer for me in how I coach, how I live my life. I think we can be loving and also give the kids tough love on the field, which we do all the time, but do it in a way that you see the person, you care for the person. They're not just a transaction, that you can be transformational in their life.
What was the why behind wanting to get into coaching?
Frosty. Two things. I had learned the game of football so late in my career, right? Late in high school, played 4 years of college football. I just had a passion for the game. And then really I just wanted to honor Frosty's legacy, the way that he taught me. When I graduated college, I was either going to be a youth pastor or go into business. I just felt like I wanted to kind of speak into the life of people, be a coach in different arenas. And I wasn't going to be a youth pastor. I was married, going to go get a job, go into a business. And I felt that football kind of gave me that platform to hang out with 60 or 70 kids every fall and speak some truth into their lives. Our whole mission at Kings has been to build champions, and that's the whole goal, is to help these boys become men. And the root for me is just to honor Frosty, honor the things that he taught me, and try and be that legacy that can kind of live off his shoulders.
Yeah, as I was kind of talking about, I spent some time with Kellen, and I can't remember if it was Kellen or if it was the coach that was coaching me at the time, but he recommended the book, Make the Big Time Where You Are. So that I read that. It's been some years now, but definitely a good book.
It's a mindset, right? It's a mindset we all can live by. No matter where we're at, we can make the big time right where we're at.
Yeah, no doubt. How much, I guess, post-college did you go back and pick his brain?
Yeah, not enough. I really wish I would have done more. I went back and talked to Scott Westering, his son, who was the offensive coordinator. We did some X's and O's. But Frosty had filled my cup. I will tell you just one life regret. I broke my wrist my junior year, and the team's going to travel up to Simon Fraser to go play a game. I wasn't on the travel roster. But Frosty, this tells you how much he cared. He said, Shap, my wife Donna and I are going to drive up to the game. Do you want to drive with us in our car up from Tacoma to Canada so I could be a part of the game? I was a typical 19-year-old kid. I'm like, yeah, sure. I slept the entire time. Like, I just kind of hung out. I was lazy. If I could go back and live those 2.5, 3 hours differently, I would be, microphone on, taking notes, picking his brain. So I wish I would have done more. But you're 19, 20 years old. You don't really know you don't know. And even when I'm 23, 24, 25, learning, I'm thinking more X's and O's than Jimmies and Joes. But man, I wish I could go back in time and pick that guy's brain a little bit more. Yeah,
talk to me. You just mentioned X's and O's versus Jimmies and Joes. So when did that kind of mindset shift in your head as far as, okay?
When you're young, man, I'm 21 years old, 22 years old. I was named the head coach of Kings when I think I was 23 years old. I had no idea.
Wow.
I had no idea what I was doing.
Did you think you were ready for it at the time? You were like,
I
thought.
Darn right, we're going to take the hill, man. We're going to go blaze
some
trails. I remember my very first playbook, it was a power I. It's embarrassing. I think I wrote it in crayon. Like, it was so bad. So my coaching, think about it. I'm a soccer kid. I played 2 years of high school ball, played 4 years of college ball. I didn't have a lot of, college or football knowledge. But yeah, in those early days, the Jimmies and Joes, we had to be Jimmies and Joes in my very first season as a head coach. My very first season as a head coach, we went 1-9. We were awful. The head coach before me had dropped the keys off knowing the team was going to be just horrible. And we were celebrating first downs and field goals. And I'm not exaggerating. We were celebrating the little things that could come our way. And I learned right then and there in my 1-9 season that we had to really love the kids, lean into who they are, build them up as men, kind of navigate this horrific scoreboard of the season. We were losing games by 70 points a night. But what happened that season was I was able to speak into the lives of the freshmen and sophomores specifically. And those sophomores didn't like it. They didn't like going 1-9. They took my words as like gospel. So we hit the weight room. We hit the off season. They did some 7-on-7. Even back then, they would go throw the ball around. And that group of sophomores, by the time they were seniors, were number 1 in the state. They were 9-0. They had turned the whole program around. The same kids, but I learned early, if I speak into their lives, I can help build them up as men. They'll run through a brick wall for you, and they did. So it's pretty cool to see that transformational coaching is much better than transactional coaching.
Yeah, I just about 2 interviews back, I interviewed a gentleman from Whitman College, a head basketball coach, Whitman College, and he said he was a young coach. He got his first college job at, I think it was 28, 29 at Franciscan College out in Ohio. I believe it's a D3 out there. But he said in his first 2 years, he didn't win a single game. So I think he was in his whatever it was, in his first 2 years, he didn't win a single game. And I asked him, like, if you could go back, would you ever change those adverse moments? Because the story he shared was I can't remember what the gentleman was, but the gentleman that was there with him signed him up for adoration at 1:00 in the morning. And then he read a Curtis Martin book, and then he came across this notion of virtue, and then he developed his whole, coaching philosophy off of it. So I guess if you could rewind it, would you change that first year? Would you change that adverse situation? And if so, why?
Yeah, I wouldn't change it at all. I mean, I have vivid memories of going up to Mount Baker, Linden Christian, these really well-known Whatcom County football teams up there, and playing men. We were just getting our hats handed to us. But I wouldn't change it because it really does. I think it not only shaped those young men, and I'm still in contact with those guys now. Think about it. I was only 22, 23. They were 18. I wasn't that far from their age, right? Coaching these guys up. And so we battled together. We learned together. That group of sophomores specifically turned out to be amazing men, fathers, husbands. I think they too would say we wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
Taught us tenacity, taught us grit. Life is not easy. We both know that. We're going to face trials and tribulations of all types. And if we haven't been through the fire a little bit, we're not going to be refined. So as a coach, I'm glad that didn't happen because I could have gone 9-0, won a state championship my first year, and I would have been so transactional, so X's and O's, hey, let's do it again. I would have missed out on something pretty powerful.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. What is your coaching philosophy, Coach?
Yeah, my coaching philosophy is really built on, I've already mentioned it, building champions. We get these 14, 15-year-old kids, these boys that enter into this high school experience, usually smaller, younger, maybe a little bit afraid being a freshman, and I want to help them grow to become men. In my world and my philosophy, it's become a godly man. We're a Christian school. I'm a Christian man. I believe that following Jesus and what he has to share with us is really powerful and important. And even if you're not a follower of Christ or a believer in Jesus, go read, go learn. It's patience, it's kindness, it's joy, it's being content. It's things that I think are really just good life principles. And so football gives us that vehicle to teach these life principles. It gives us this vehicle to help these boys learn through toughness and grit and tenacity what it means to be a man. So that's at the core of why I do this. I don't do this to win all the games or to not lose all the games or to win a championship, although that would be fun. That's all a byproduct and an outcome. Help these boys become men. We're here to build champions. And then also just relationally, I think for me, it gives me great fire and fervor to wake up every morning and to know I can speak into someone's life. I have a platform to speak into their life. I'm a coach by nature, be it in business or in football. So building champions, I want to honor God along the way. I'm a failed human. I fall short every day. But to do my best and to be a great example for these kids is really the ultimate goal.
Yeah, you guys compete in 1A. How big is your guys' team?
Yeah, so 1A, that's kind of that smaller to mid-tier here in the state. We have typically have about 60 to 70 kids on our roster.
Well, that's not bad.
No, which for 1A usually you get maybe 35 to 40. So we're blessed to have a bunch of kids. People think you're at a private school, you're going to go out there and recruit kids. I haven't recruited one kid ever in my life. I love to recruit our hallways from kindergarten through 12th grade. I am active on campus. We got a bunch of great kids that love to be there.
Is it all the same campus or is it split?
Yep, it's all there. Elementary, junior high, high school. I like to think we're kind of the Stanford or Notre Dame of high school football. We get what we get. You got to be smart to go here. Your parents got to pay a good amount of money to be here. So there's a certain type of family that does make the effort to be here, and we've been blessed to have some really great athletes play D1 ball. Even Corey Kispert, who's in the NBA, played for me. He's a big-time basketball player. So we've had really good athletes even come through our little system.
That's pretty cool. I know we've crossed paths with a couple of your players in recent years. Colin Hamilton, and then Jack McAllister. Where's Jack at? He's at Nebraska now, or did he end up leaving Nebraska, right?
Yeah, he was at Nebraska for a hot day, and then Nebraska recruited a Aussie punter, and so Jack's been at Purdue and doing a great
Oh,
job.
nice.
Yeah, he's doing a phenomenal job. And Jack's actually a good example. Like, I recruit our campus. Jack was on the soccer team. My son was playing soccer, and I saw this athlete running around on the soccer field. I'm like, man, that guy'd make a good receiver and running back. He never played receiver or running back. He showed up kicking, punting, and then played for the University of Washington for 4 years, and now making his 5th year here at Purdue.
Nice, good for him.
Yeah.
Obviously, 28 years as a head coach. I think another 4 as an assistant.
Yeah.
What has been, if you could go and pinpoint, 1 or 2 years that were your most favorite years, what will those years be and why?
Let's go to football for a quick hot second. We went to the quarterfinals like 8 or 9 times. Like, we were just knocking on the quarterfinal door for a long time. We had some really big games that were heartbreak losses. And so for me, like, man, I wanted to get over that quarterfinal hump, which we did. I think it was 2014. We beat Montesano down in the quarterfinals down in Aberdeen. So we were able to make it to the old Tacoma Dome. I would always drive by the Tacoma Dome for decades, going, man, I want to get my team inside that building to play a game. And was blessed enough to play Montesano in the semis and beat them, and then play powerhouse Royal City, who's won 11 or 12 state championships. We played them in a very competitive game. So that season for me was a storyboard season for a couple of reasons. Not only we made it, but our starting quarterback went out in week 1 versus Linden High School and broke his collarbone. We had to play with 3 different quarterbacks that season. That kid came back around the quarters, and it was just it was a trying season. It was a challenging season. The team came together, and we were able to play for the state championship, losing to Royal by a touchdown or 2. But that to me is a highlight from a football perspective, for sure. And, as a coach, you remember games and downs and distances and stories. Honestly, my highlight is probably our Breakaway retreat. We do something that PLU has done forever. We go away the first 3 days of our season. Right now we're going up to Camp Casey, but we try and get away to these remote places to bond, to be together. That's the highlight for me. It's at the very beginning of every season, be it we go 10-0 or 0-10. Breakaway is a highlight. These kids bond. Last year we baptized 6 kids, so for us that's important. Just some kids finding their faith. It's a highlight. So Breakaway every year, and then that 2014 season making it to the state championship is definitely a highlight as well, and getting over that quarterfinal hump.
Yeah, so is Breakaway during the summertime right before fall camp, or it's literally fall camp, okay, those 3 first days of fall camp, this is what we're doing?
Yeah, so that's something we do at Kings. We invest in a different way. A lot of coaches are doing 2-a-days and doing all these things. So we do a couple days to kind of get practice under our belt, and then we go away for a long weekend, a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we're foregoing about 2 days of practice to invest in leadership, goal setting, all the things that we're trying to build as a team. Because I think if we can come together in unity, then we'll do some amazing things on the football field. So we do that technically the 4th, 5th, and 6th day of practice, and we definitely lose some practice time, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and I think on the flip side too. I mean, you're getting great rest and you're getting great recovery. So when these guys come back, they're fresh.
You got it.
If you don't mind sharing, some of the team activities or some of the break of ice things that you do, some of the culture building things that you do at Breakaway. If you don't mind sharing that with the good of the community, I would love that.
Breakaway is just like summer camp on steroids. So first of all, we're going up to Camp Casey. It's an old Army, barracks. It's just a great
Is that
spot.
in Olympia? Where's that
It's up north, kind of by South Woodby, Coopville area.
Okay.
The state built these forts that kind of protected the Puget Sound over the years, and so it's a beautiful fort still up there. There's still some old cannons up there, and these places kids can kind of go play and run around this fort. But they have these this beautiful Army barracks set up, about 10 or 15 Army barracks. They sleep about 80 to 100 people. They're old, so we can just beat the crap out of them. Like, I'm not worried if kids are doing stupid stuff at night, which they are. They're kind of hanging out, having fun. So we pack into this barracks. It's military style. We're all on our bunks, and it's like leave anything football related behind. It is, getting up early we do some morning devotions. We kind of walk the beach, to playing a ton of games. We play spike ball, hustle ball, volleyball. You mentioned them resting. They're not rested by the time we're done with this. In fact, this was something I think Frosty did in one of his little kind of sports psychology moments, because we did the same thing. He would take us away for 3 days, and we would play like crazy, running in the sand, doing all these different activities, and we were getting in shape without even knowing it. And so it's game time. We do a lot of stupid skits, a lot of typical things you would see at summer camp. I do 5 different breakout sessions on leadership or personal development, and we're just teaching training both the mind and body, and really trying to come together. One unique ingredient is I create squads where I have a mix of freshmen through seniors, and I intentionally don't put cliques or groups of guys that know each other well in the same squad. So you're kind of forcing a freshman to get to know a senior, or a sophomore lineman to get to know a junior running back, because during the season we get caught up in our position groups and our offensive defensive teams, and so it's 3 days of getting to know your teammate, doing a lot of fun summer activities.
That's good stuff, Coach. If there was any advice that you could go back and give your younger self, what would that be?
Man, it's going to be about winning and losing. I think there are so many memories of, I'll tell you one, heartbreak loss to Montesano. I forget the year, but it was probably 2016, 2017. The best football team I've ever had. Billy Green, quarterback, went to BYU. Mason Freeline had 10 Division I offers, went to Yale. We had I think 7 guys that went on to play college ball. We were the dudes. We were the amazing team. And we lost to a sophomore-ridden, smaller, well-coached team in Montesano. They beat us 21-14. I couldn't believe it, because on paper we should have beat them 100 times. So the younger self would be not so caught up in the wins and the losses. I think there's so much emotion in the scoreboard. And to really tell myself, which is what I tell my kids now, the scoreboard lies. Like, you could go win a game by 40 and you play like crap. You could go lose a game by 40 and you left everything on the field. And so the younger self would be, the outcome of the scoreboard is what it is. It's an outcome. It's the day-to-day activities you take, the approach you take, and the work with the kids. So I'm giving you a long answer to winning. Winning is not the end road. It's not the holy grail. It's the process. It's the people. It's the day-to-day investment you make. It's how you carry yourself as a man. It's how you handle yourself with character after a loss. And I think the game of football has lost a lot of the character piece. A lot of show me, hands up, look at me. And I think we're losing our way a little bit in how we can use the game of football to develop ourselves and also to develop young men. Yeah.
32 years. At what point in your career where you're like, okay, I think I'm starting to get used to this. This is my system. This is my operations. This is who I am as a coach.
Yeah. I think, so 96, I think, was my first year as a head, 96, 97. 97 season, my first year as a head coach. 99 was my third year where we went 9-0 and we kind of turned things around. I think this, my confidence of seeing the philosophy work. 99 would be, okay, if I invest in the men, help them become better people, we can win more football games, which is still the outcome, right? I don't want to dilute winning. That's what we're trying to do. But X's and O's and just kind of really feeling the rhythm, it probably wasn't until 2005, 2006. It probably took me a decade, which is about 5 years too long. Again, I didn't really have an offensive or defensive mentor. I only played for Frosty and then the 2 years at Azusa. My high school coach is a great guy, but didn't really know much about football. I wasn't around a bunch of dudes that knew X's and O's. And so I think if I would have done it differently, I would have invested more in my knowledge, which I do now. I meet with high school coaches and college coaches in the off season, picking brains and learning from each other. But it took me probably almost 10 years, 2005-ish, 2006, before we really started to turn on the juice. 2009, 2010, things really started to click for us.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit of professional development there. Who's been some of your favorite coaches to connect with and talk ball with?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of guys. I think there's the head coach up at Linden has just been phenomenal. He's been a really help for me. I think also too, just the guys at the college ranks are so generous just in their time. Grant Duff, who's been around, I think he's at Idaho State now, is a well-known name, and he was down at...
Who was at Weber State before? Was that the DC that was at Weber?
Yeah, there's some just guys that I feel like I can pick up the phone and sometimes just talk less about X's and O's again, more about just life and philosophy. I remember I had a good call with Grant about a year or two ago just about the state of football. So those are a couple names and programs I think that are storied programs and or people that really have spoken into my life. But honestly, I look less to football coaches for philosophy and things that kind of frame in my thinking and more to people that are external books, resources. I read this amazing book, I'll have to find it for you. It's called Chasing the Lion, which is really about a story about, it's a biblical story, but it's really a life principle. There's an old story in the Old Testament where David's right-hand man, David's bodyguard, chased a lion into a den on a snowy day and killed it. And it's this whole idea of chasing a lion. I'd recommend anyone reading it because it's really a great mindset for what we're trying to do on the football field, also in life, is trying to attack the day, take on our fears, and Chasing the Lion would be a good book.
Who's the author of that?
I'll look that up for you. I'll look it up here in a minute.
Okay. Better Fundraising is the company that you got on the outside. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about, because I'm in a position too where it's like a little bit of crossroads in life. Do I want to try and get back into college coaching? I mean, I'm living the dream right now. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I get to go and talk ball with football coaches, basketball coaches, wrestling. I get to learn from them. Like, do I try and want to get back in the college ranks, or do I want to, pursue the path that I'm on and, take the whole podcast thing serious? But with that, at some point, there's going to be a time where I'm going to have to ask for whether that be a sponsorship, whether that be a cross-promotional stuff. So tell me about fundraising. Tell me about what your guys, I guess your operation is and how to ask.
Yeah, that's good. First of all, the author is Mark Batterson. So
Mark Batterson.
Chase the Lion, Mark Batterson.
Okay.
Yeah, asking, it's interesting. Asking has less to do about asking and more about messaging. So I think a lot of what we do in our lives, and this will go beyond fundraising, is just how we say things, our preparation in what we're saying. The ask is really typically based in a problem that we're asking someone else to help us solve. So our company, the Better Fundraising Company, there's 12 of us on staff. We serve about 60 nonprofits and charities across North America, both Canada and the U.S. And we're really teaching them how to create good message, tell great stories, talk about the problems they're trying to address. For example, we work with a handful of organizations that take care of homeless moms and kids. And in that situation, the problem is housing, food, medical care, job placement. So when you're asking, you're presenting a problem. And the problem, maybe for you, Keanu, is you want to reach more people. Maybe your message is, I want to reach more coaches for good. And right now, maybe you're limited by resource, time. And so you could go raise money to underwrite your operation so that you could reach more coaches with a positive message. That could be an example of the problem is not enough coaches are getting a positive message. The solution is a donor gives you $1 so you can spread your word. So fundraising is really about presenting a problem and sharing it with people that care about that problem and asking them to either give their time, which is donations, or time, which is volunteer, or money, which is donations. So we all have two currencies, time and money, and when we're asking people to help solve a problem.
That's a great answer.
There you go. Simple,
I was trying to write notes at the same time. Got caught up in listening there.
That's good. Well, actually, we built our company on 4 words: ask, thank, report, and repeat. And I think someday I'll probably have to go on the speaking circuit and just talk about that, because you could use that just in life, with your wife, with your neighbor, with the car dealer, like anyone you're working with. If you're asking people to do something, you're thanking them promptly and emotionally for helping. You're reporting back to them what happened because they helped. And then you can do it again. You can repeat it. So that's building a speed of trust. Ask, thank, report, repeat. And again, asking's problem-based.
Awesome. Came across, I can't remember what site it was when I was doing a little bit of background research. Greatness is a choice. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that. Kind of what that means to you and why that's important to you.
Yeah, I mean, life is a choice. We had to choose to get up today, didn't we? We had to choose to either have every day.
My son was screaming a little bit. Not this morning, but he does some mornings, yeah.
Someone else had a choice. But it's true. We have choices every day. And actually, we probably have hundreds of thousands of choices every day. And it's really a matter of how we choose to approach those choices. I believe we can choose to be great, or we can choose to be lazy. I think we can choose to be on time, or we can choose to be late. There are very few excuses that I think are legit or real as to why something negative happened. I think most of it has to do with our choices that has led up to those things. So I think greatness is a series of small little choices that we make. We'll use football as the example. To get out of bed early on a Tuesday morning, to go to the weight room, to do the reps, to do the work, to do well in school, to be a good son, to be a good student, to be a good community member, to do all the work and things that we need, so that I can get to the practice field, so that I know what I'm doing. So when I get to the practice, it just goes on and on and on. I think it's probably 1,000 little choices that lead to someone saying, you're great. And I think, you hear of Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all those guys would say it's the work they did that led up to being in the arena. We saw them as great on the court or in the arena or in the ring, but it was the work that led up to it that really made the difference. Yeah.
Love talking to coaches who've done it a lot longer than I have. And, when I sit down and talk to, some of the ones that, make an impact on me, it's like conviction of purpose. When did this mindset that we're talking about, this greatness is a choice, like, was that something that you established in college with Frosty, or is that something that was kind of planted the seed then? And like, when did that become, I guess, concrete within who you are?
I think it's just been a storyline. It's a great question, because I don't think I realized it existed until I was probably with Frosty. Yeah. But really, greatness is a choice in my life. I saw it in others. My dad is a great example of that. This is a memory I have as him as a child. He was a business guy. He helped develop a pretty sizable real estate company here in Washington. But he would come home. He'd be in a suit and tie. He'd had a long day at the office, and now as men, we can put ourselves in the shoe, right? We walk into the house. Was he angry? Was he tired? Was he grumpy? No. Give my mom a kiss, pat me on the head. I know he'd go back into the bedroom. He'd change out of his suit and tie, so kind of change out of his Superman outfit, maybe change into a Superman outfit, and he'd come out and he'd be gentle. He'd be kind, he'd be warm. He'd be engaging. But here's the thing: my mom had made dinner. We would eat dinner, and without asking, my dad would get up, Think about it. He's kind of the CEO. He's the head of the house. He'd get up. He'd go do the dishes without even being asked. No one expected him to do that. That was a little thing. That was being great in our family. And I think as a young man, I'd watch that going, man, this guy's, serving the family. He's caring for people without even naming it or knowing it. So I would say it started with an environment like that where I had parents that really loved each other, loved our family, and would serve and care others really well. And that was greatness to me. And then I was a competitor. I was an athletic. I ran track, played soccer, played football. I realized that if you want to be great at those things, you had to pursue greatness, again, off the field and on. So it just started to, I think as you mature, or at least as I matured, I started to pick those things up. And then when I got to Frosty, it was like someone had actually painted the canvas of the picture going, oh, that's exactly what I've been trying to live, and now I can name it. Now I have definitions. Now I have a plan. And that was the game changer for me. It just tipped the scale.
Yeah. I like that you shared that anecdote with your dad. Your story just made me think of, okay, this guy's embodying it. This guy's living it. He's not saying anything, right? So how much do our actions, I guess, supersede our words?
Oh my gosh. I mean, give it a number, 10 times, 100 times. Our words can be shallow and weak. It's like, yeah, coach, I want to be great. Okay, did you hit the weight room last week? Yeah, coach, I want to be the starting receiver. Well, how many early outs and late outs did you do to get better at catching the football? Like, our words can maybe state our dreams or our goals, but our actions are the thing that backs it up. Yeah, I want to be a man of honesty and integrity. Well, you just lied and stole. Like, your actions are louder than your desires. So I think it's important to have those words. We should speak those things out. I'm journaling every day. I'm writing down what I want. I'm writing down what I hope for. And yet, we better put those actions into place. So I think it's a tenfold maybe, if not more, that our actions speak louder. I have a very quiet football team, by the way, this year. A bunch of dudes, a bunch of great athletes. Probably 4 or 5 will go play college football somewhere, and they are the most quiet bunch ever. Yeah. And I've encouraged them. Like, I've had to teach them, like, speak up, be positive, but yet their actions are so much stronger than their words. And I said, also be who you are. Embrace your actions. I better hear your pads hitting somebody. If I'm not going to hear your mouth talking, I better hear your pads, and they do. They do a good job there. So I think your actions definitely speak much louder volume than your words.
Yeah, got to backtrack a little bit to your conversation with Coach Duff. You talked about just the current state of football, and it just made me think of, I had a conversation with a local coach out here who attended Linfield. He's coaching at Silverton High School. He's talking about one of his things was, as a society, we're kind of losing ways to encourage toughness. So talk to me a little bit about what that, if you don't mind, what that conversation was about. And you talked about, character development kind of slipping within football. Talk to me on some of the key points that you guys were speaking about.
Yeah, I think the first point was just the state of football. It was the NIL, it was the transfer model. This was a year or two ago, so kind of right when it was kicking off, and we're both sitting there going, what are we doing? I think he was still at Weber, maybe he was going to Idaho State. He's like, man, it's like it just changed the environment. We get a kid for a year or two, and then they transfer on. It's like we're actually developing kids to go play maybe at the next level. So it's just frustrating, I think, for both a college and also for a high school coach who has really good athletes, now seeing the churn that's happening with transfer portal. I'd hate to be a senior right now, even if you were a couple stars there's so much competition with guys that have played JUCO or played a year or two in larger programs. We were talking mostly about that, but then it did shift to just the state of kind of me first, kind of meism. You got NIL money, you got kids that are, 18, 19 years old, putting $1 million in their pockets. Are they ready for it? No. I can't think of any kid who's 19, 20 years old who's ready for $1 million in their pocket. Coaches getting fired and yet making 50, 60 million bucks, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a day for getting canned. Like that's backwards. So I think money obviously is a good tool for a lot of good things, but I think money can ruin a lot of people. And I think the game of football, and really I wouldn't even say at the higher level now, I see at the high school level, has just turned into meism. It's just all about what I can get. I mean, in the state of Washington, you now can transfer high schools without question, sitting out a couple games in the next year, and then you get to play. So if I wanted to go from Kings to Roosevelt High School, without question I could transfer and have to sit out a little bit, but I can still get to play. So I think what bothers me, and this might be the old guy talking, is I love people that are going to step up and stay. I like guys that are going to say, I'm all in for you and or your program. I think that conviction for playing for someone or playing for something or playing for a school has been lost. You got kids that are transferring 3 or 4 or 5 times in a career. It just seems loose to me, and I think we're kind of doing a disservice. I know this is a pretty big, broad brush, but I want kids that are going to stay in their marriage when they're married. I want kids that are going to be in their job and be good workers. And when things get tough, I think we're teaching kids to, nope, move on, I'm going to leave, I'm going to do my thing. So I think that's the toughness and the grit you're talking about. I think we're losing that. The game of football is physical, it always will be, but we're losing our stick-to-itiveness to stick with something when it's hard.
That was a hell of an answer. The stick-to-itiveness, I don't even know if that's a word, but
it is now.
I'm taking it. We'll transition a little bit. prompt you on the Anela question of the day. And her question was, what is your favorite lunch?
Man, without a doubt. Thai Cottage, Main Street in Edmonds, crispy garlic chicken, 1 star. I walk into that place, they call me by my
1 star, is that the spice level? Is that the
lowest level. I don't want to ruin my
Okay,
gut.
okay.
Yeah, it's a low spice, but man, this crispy garlic chicken is to die for. So they know me by name, they know my order. I walk on in, it's darn near ready for me. So I work and live right here in Edmonds. I'm down there multiple times, probably in a month, just feeding my face with some crispy garlic chicken. So
That sounds good.
there you go.
I guess, and I'm going to go back because she asked another one to
Great.
the last guest. What was your Halloween costume?
Well, here's the unique thing. My Halloween costume was this because we were playing Granite Falls for the league championship on Halloween night.
Yeah.
We were up in the north end of the county playing a football game. So, if I was going to be something, though, I have a Darth Vader mask that I got at Disneyland this year and actually wore it for our media day at King's where I had my lightsaber and my Darth Vader mask. I would have been Darth Vader if I had to dress up.
Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about the dynamics of coaching your kids? Just because I know I'm going to cross that path that someday. Liked it,
Loved it.
didn't, loved it,
Yep.
pros and cons of it.
Yep. I've seen it done well and I've seen it done not well by others. And so my older son, Atlee, who's now, again, 26 years old, played for me. He was a great strong safety for us. In that situation, I have a little bit of a regret. I'll tell you why. But I think we kind of had this unofficial or informal agreement that when we went to the field, I was coach, he was player. And I think we did a good job respecting that. I also told myself I would never coach my son's position because I think that gets really flawed. And yes, I'm the head coach. I could be coaching him at receivers or safeties, but I chose not to. I want other men to speak into his life, and so I did a good job with the coaching staff. I think I did a good job with him. Dude, you go have your experience. I'll go have mine. We'll be together on Friday nights. We'll celebrate success. But I think I also pulled back a little bit too far. I think I could have been more of a father in those moments, maybe finding some side times to celebrate or to talk or to break down film as a dad and not necessarily as a coach. And so I think I might have missed a little bit of, not a huge regret, but I think I could have been a little bit more connected with him as a father in the football moments. But I think he would look back and say it was a great experience and it was positive and it was a positive experience for me as well. My youngest son, Kai, he is a bull in a china shop. This guy, he will knock your head off. He is tough. He is all go get him. And he for sure does not need dad on the football field because we're kind of oil and water even around the house. He's just a different kid. And so I want to make sure that I'm establishing the love and the relationship and the respect we have in the home and that it doesn't get tainted by me being a tough nose or hard on him on the field. So the same rules apply. I'm not going to coach his position group. I have other coaches kind of assigned to, hold him accountable. When a kid doesn't have his helmet on, when a kid's not hustling, I'm going to yell at all 59. But if one of those, my 60th, is my kid, I'm not going to do it. It's not the place or space for me to be on him because he and I have to come home, have dinner together, and hang out. So I want someone else to be able to speak truth into his life and hold him accountable. So
You don't want to get in trouble from mom, too. You don't want that.
Mom would not be happy if coach and player come home.
Yeah. I may have misheard this. So Kai, 25th child as a foster parent?
Yeah, so we had 24 foster kiddos. We were actually done. We were about to turn in our license, and the CASA, who had been working with us, called us up and said, we got this kiddo down South Seattle. Long story short, he's our guy. Yep, he's number 25.
That's awesome. Can we kind of dive into that? Because I just have the utmost respect for people that do that. Because I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. If I would ever do it, I don't know. I don't think so. But I can just respect it from a distance. So what was the allure behind wanting to get in that?
Yeah. So we were going to church at Antioch Bible Church. Pastor Ken Hutchison, actually Ken played for the Dallas Cowboys. He played for the Seahawks. You look up Ken Hutchison in the 70s. He was a pretty well-known football name. Big black guy, loved community. He created a church that was he called it black and white in a gray world. So it was a very cross-cultural church. And he actually one day from church said, man, we got to step up as a church and really step into this foster care and adoption system because it's skewed. White kids were getting adopted at a different price point than black kids were. And he's like, this is pretty much modern day slavery. This is ridiculous. And so he as an individual, also as a church, worked with the state of Washington to change the adoption laws where you couldn't charge different prices for different color skinned kiddos. And so we were in that church hearing all this, also realizing that the foster care system is really messy. There's about 5,000 kids right now in the state of Washington waiting to be adopted. They're in the foster care system, actually waiting for families to step up to adopt them, legally free. And so we said, well, what can we do as a family? My older kids were, I think, 7 and 4-ish when we started the journey. And we said, well, we can at least step up and be foster parents. We can do some temporary care for kids that are in need. And so we did that. And then we realized, man, we have a family that's full of love. We have resource. Why would we not potentially consider adopting a child? And it was hard. Every story was just a train wreck. These kids come to you, they're damaged, they're hurt, they're abused, they're sad, they're scared. I had one little girl, her name was Lovely. She was 8 years old. She came into our home. My wife and I were tucking her into bed, and she looked up at me with these big brown eyes, and she says, "Are you going to hit me tonight?" She's 8 years old. I'm like, "No, sweetheart, I'm going to pray over you, and you're in a safe place." She was with us for 3 months. By the time she left us, she was no longer swearing. She was no longer angry. She was at peace. She was leading our family in some dinner time prayer. Like, it was so sweet to see the transition in her little life just in 3 months. So we see those moments. We saw those moments. And we're like, man, we're going to be all in, and just really was hopeful and prayerful that God would bring us our own child. And we were done. We were cooked. We had one kiddo that came to us that was 4 days old, and after 7 months of caring for him, after 7 months of being told we could adopt him, the state took him back and gave him back to his dad, who got his life back together enough to bring him home. So multiple heartaches, very long stories, but multiple heartaches, multiple challenges, multiple blessings. And we were done, but God wasn't. I walked into the NICU in Kent, and there was Kai, little six-week-old little guy. I wouldn't say that I heard the audible voice of God, but I walked in there. I'm like, I heard, man, this is your kid, this is your son, and it was a pretty powerful moment. Yeah, it's a journey. I would encourage people to look into it though, because you can be a temporary foster parent for a weekend. You can take care of someone just for a couple days because other parents need rest. You might be all in like we were to take care of as many kiddos as possible, and maybe there's a big plan for you to have another one that's not maybe on your mind right now.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing that testimony there. What does the word team mean to you?
Together, everyone achieves more. Every good coach should know that acronym. It's true though. Like, team is not about me. It's not about us. It truly is an acronym that I think we all can live by. So Frosty taught us there's 2 rooms in the house that we live in. One is the mirror room, where if we walk into the room, all you see is mirrors, all you see is yourself. That's the selfish nature that we have within us. Then there's a window room, where you walk into the window room and all you see are windows. And what that means is all you can see is what's outside you. And so team is really being in that window room, asking yourself, what can I do for my teammates? What can I do for my team? What does the coach need? Really being a servant leader, a servant warrior in the space and place where you can serve others through that window room mindset. So together, everyone achieves more is an acronym most coaches should know. And then Frosty layered on the window room versus mirror room. He would say, get out of the window room, Shapiro. You're all about yourself. You're being selfish. Get into the, get out of the mirror room, Shapiro. You're being selfish. Get into the window room where you can see others. So it's a good visual. We want to be in the window room every day, taking care of our teammates, taking care of our team.
Yeah. Kind of talking about that messaging that Coach Frosty had. Was that everything? Was that throughout the season, or was that kind of everything implemented early on throughout fall camp and the off season? Because obviously timing and messaging, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
When did all that stuff usually take place?
It was every day. And it was just little things, little drips in the faucet, video clips, quotes, tunes, sometimes big philosophies. It was just the man. It was just who he was. He's a crazy, amazing sports psychologist. He was like being around Yoda, going back to a Star Wars theme. If you could sit at the feet of Yoda and just listen to it. Sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense because Yoda kind of talks in a funky way. And we would laugh at Frosty all the time. Like, dude, that was just crazy, silly, stupid, whatever. But if you really pulled out what he was saying, there's always a grain of just something really beautiful in what he was saying. So it was daily. We would goal set weekly. Think about this. He had almost 100 kids on the roster. We would fill out these goal sets, the things we wanted to achieve. There were these full sheets. He would go through each one and mark them up with red pen, give us notes, give us encouragement. So it was a daily practice for him. I don't remember him talking much about X's and O's. The offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator did that, but he was all about the Jimmies and the Joes and speaking this truth into our life. He was a godly man. He didn't force God down your throat. He sure gave you a life philosophy that was pure, that was true, that you could take beyond the football field.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about just kind of your day-to-day, working off campus, now coaching on campus. What's your guys', practice structure and opponent scout breakdown looks like?
Yeah, we do it different because we are different. We don't meet as a staff on Saturday. We never have, even pre-huddle. I want guys to have time back to their families, back to their kids, just time to refresh. Even for the kids, I know a lot of coaches get them up at 9 a.m. the following Saturday. They're breaking down film, they're lifting weights, and that's fine. But that's never been us. We do a lot of our work as coaches on Saturday individually, and then we'll gather on Sunday for coaching staff meetings. I have the varsity team over to my house every Sunday for a team dinner. That's our place to goal set, to share, to break bread, to watch some film. So Sunday is really, it is our day of rest from a religious perspective, but also is our time to gather and be in community. So Sundays are a big time for us.
Are we getting the garlic chicken, or are you cooking something?
No, my wife's cooking every Sunday. She's in the kitchen for a long time. Cooking something greater. I'm doing something on the barbecue. But yeah, and Monday through Thursday is going to be a typical structure. You got Monday JV games with the varsity guys doing some run-throughs and lifts. Tuesday, Wednesday, because we're a combined program. We got varsity and junior varsity practicing together. Less than 2 hours. We're probably about 90 minutes on the field. We do both offense and defense both days, so there's not a heavily weighted day. We'll do typical individuals, inside run, team time. Thursday's a run-through, very light. We try to not overcook the steak on Wednesday and Thursday. We want our kids to be fresh on Friday. So it really is a walkthrough on Thursday, making sure we're aligned correctly, ready to rock and roll. And then Friday, we do our pregame really late. We only want to be on the field about 30 minutes before the game starts. Again, we want the kids to be amped up and rocking and rolling by the time they get going. So we're not on the field for more than 30 minutes before the pregame starts, and then we lock and load and get it done. So it's a Saturday break, Sunday through Friday. We're putting in our hours and teaching the kids what we know.
If there's one drill or one segment within practice that you guys currently do that you wish you had in the beginning of your career, what would that be?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people do called inside run. We actually do outside run. So we actually take the interior defensive linemen off the field. We keep our defensive ends, backers, and secondary on the field because we want them to see what's happening at the line of scrimmage. And so we do an outside run. Really, it's a team model without your interior tackles. And our linebackers are loving it because they have a clearer view of what's happening. Our secondary is loving it because they have a clearer view of what's happening with their run-pass keys. And so outside run is something we've implemented this year. It's been extremely successful. I wish I would have done it 15, 20 years ago.
So is the tackle still involved and just the guard center is out?
Defensive tackles and those are out. So it's the defensive line we're keeping. But it's the full offense, full level.
Gotcha.
We're just giving a clearer read without the mess of the defensive line kind of getting in the way of some of the key reads.
Okay. Well, not like that. What are you coaching? If you had to pick one position to coach, what are you coaching?
Well, first I'll say I used to be an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator for most of my years. I gave that up about 3 years ago, and I've loved it. I've been able to be kind of the coach of the coach, head of the team. Giving the X's and O's to others has not always been easy, but it's been the right thing to do. But if I'm going back to coaching somewhere, I'm a receivers coach at heart. That's what I know. It's what I do. The technique, that's what I'm passionate about. So I'd be a receivers coach in a different program.
Yeah, if you could go back and coach anyone, any college player, any NFL guy, any legend, you could be their coach. Who would that be?
Well, I'm an old timer who loved Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice was my personal idol. It'd be either him or Steve Largent from the old Seahawks because that guy had no business being on the field, but yet he was dominant. So I would love to see his practice regime and what he did. And then Jerry Rice was my all-time guy. Just the way he moved, the way he flowed, the way he got open. He kind of reminds me of the modern-day Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp's not fast. Jerry wasn't necessarily fast, but the way they run routes. So probably a younger version of Jerry Rice, and maybe even today go meet Cooper Kupp, who, by the way, his dad played at PLU. Craig Kupp.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Craig was a quarterback at PLU. He actually played for Dallas for a couple of years. So there's a PLU connection through Cooper and his dad, Craig.
That's pretty cool. Talk to me a little bit about creating healthy competition at practice, because obviously football, physical sport, you want a level of chippiness, you want a level of edge, but at some point they got to toe the line.
Yep. You put points on anything and kids will compete. So like inside run, we put the ball in the 5, the scout offense is trying to score, the A group defense is trying to keep them out, and I just keep points. Whoever gets a point, offense gets a point if they score, defense gets a point if they keep them out. And you got to do up downs or something at the end of a 5-10 minute session. You put points on anything, kids will compete. And if you don't put points on something, they're not. So
that's so funny. That's so simple, but no, I don't. I mean, you don't see it a lot.
Nope. So that's what you want. You want that competitive edge, and putting points on it make a difference.
That's an easy way to do it. Like when we're talking about team competitions, there's a game we play like red zone lockout. You get the ball in the 25, and you got 4 plays. I think. I can't remember. Anyways, if you score, you get 7 points. If you kick a field goal, you get 3 points, but the defense gets 4 points. Yep. And you're playing at 18, and you just keep going. Can't remember the exact formalities of it, but I'm thinking 9-on-7 run, like just putting points on that, or just the team sessions. Like exactly. I think it's really easy to do that, and like you said, keep it somewhat friendly.
Yeah, we had a volleyball coach here at Kings who never had played volleyball in his life, but became an amazing coach. He's now coaching at the collegiate level. His name's Steve Bain. And he was he was a chart guy. Like he had his whole matrix. He was keeping points in everything in practice, and he would show it to the girls afterwards. And their production just went through the roof because he was keeping track of all that was going on, and they were playing for points, and they were losers. And he would actually make his starting rosters based on those points. Like whoever's competing during the week, you would have this matrix that would get you into being a starting person on the top 6. So interesting. If you keep points, it makes a difference.
That's interesting. What was his name?
Steve Bain. He's up at Northwest University here in Kirkland. I can connect you with him later if you'd like.
Yeah. And you said he didn't play volleyball growing up?
Ever in his life. Nope. He's a mad scientist when it comes to coaching, and knowledge of the game.
That's volleyball is like volleyball is my old lady, and football is my mistress. So I grew up playing volleyball. I got a lot of sentimental connection because that's kind of what me and my dad bonded over, and that was our connection, was kind of based around volleyball. Your team faces a bad setback or a loss. What does that communication look like to them after the game?
I mean, we had one. We lost to a league opponent. We lost the league championship on Friday. We got to rally and reload for what's next. Really, it starts before the loss. It's the 1-0 mindset. Every week's a chance to go 1-0. And then in the game, we're talking about play the play you're in. You can't change what's happened behind you. You know, the last play, you made a mistake, so be it. You got to flush it. Frosty had this little toilet that made a little sound, a little flushing sound. You got to flush it. You got to move on. And so we leave what's behind us. We focus on what's ahead of us. I even sent a message to my guys this morning, like, today's the day God has made. Let's make the most of it. You know, yesterday's behind us. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. So I think that mindset of playing for 1-0 every week, we can't go back and change the loss on Friday. We can learn from it. But we know today, we have Wednesday, we have practice, and we're going to make the most of it. This Saturday, we got a game, 1-0, and it literally is 1-0 because it's playoff time. So it's just a mindset even before the loss, if there is one. It's, you know, we're going to learn from it. And did you give your best? Did you prepare like a champion?
How do you go about, you mentioned your breakaways, your team breakaways, but how do you go about establishing a sense of shared leadership within the team?
Yeah, I learned this up at Linden High School. They do this. We don't have captains. Well, first of all, we didn't have captains for a long time because in the early days, I would name someone a captain and their head would get so big, they would get so cocky, they wouldn't lead very well. And so for decades, we didn't have captains until I met with the head coach up at Linden High School, and they have squad leaders. And so what we do is we have teammates apply to be a squad leader, and I get to go through an interview process. The coaches get to kind of pick who's who. The kids get to vote. We get to kind of have all this feedback from who we want to be our squad leader. And so from there, we have squad leaders starting in the spring. And those guys get to be our leaders of 4 squads of different teammates. Those squads go into Breakaway, right? Freshman through senior. And so it's one of those things that has really helped us in our leadership model, getting those squad leaders in early. They get to have ownership over their squads. Blake up at Linden is the one that taught me that. And it's just been a good model for us. We still vote on captains at the end of the year. So the team gets to vote who did lead our team, who were the top 4 guys that led our team. And so we still give a captain's award at the end of the season at our awards banquet.
Aside from winning, what other metric do you use to define success as a coach?
Yeah, that's actually a very hard question. Because winning's, the scoreboard does tell the story at some point. Man, it's not really a tangible answer. It's the heart and the attitude of the individual and the team.
It's a great answer. Yeah, no, that's a good point, Coach. You mentioned the book Chasing the Lion. Are there any other books that you recommend in regards to coaching, leadership, philosophy, psychology?
Well, I'm going to be a broken record. I got Frosty's books. You got Make the Big Time Where You Are. He has a second book called The Strange Secret. He's my Yoda. Make the Big Time Where You Are. It might be hard to find, but that's a simple read. It's gonna feel like reading a foreign language. It won't make sense the first time, but go find that. Go read that. There's a lot of good resources out there for sure, but he would be the one I would definitely recommend. Okay.
Any acronyms, quotes, or anything to conclude?
It's a good one. I haven't really thought acronyms or quotes. I mean, there's this whole philosophy of that I bring to the football field is the longer we play, the better we get. And I think that's true because you get momentum, you get things going. The longer we play, the better we get. And what I find is that's true in life. Like, I'm 53 years old now. When I started, I was probably 22 or 23. I think the longer I've coached, the better I've got because my perspective has just gotten stronger, deeper, clearer. So that'd be one. I think all of us can get better. All of us can chase the lion. All of us can strive for greatness. And I think the longer we all play every day, the better we can get.
To me, what you're talking about, there's 2 people in the NFL right now that I'm looking at that are just absolutely living up to that. It's like Joe Flacco, who just threw for 470 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
And then you got Cameron Hayward.
Yeah.
For the Steelers, who is 30, I think he's close to 40, but he's in there in the trenches, and he's still one of the better DTs. And there's another one, I can't remember, the Calais Campbell's, I think, is still playing too.
Love it.
He's up there at edge.
Yep.
Well, shoot, Coach, I appreciate your time. I'm sorry for the connection issues because I know there's 2 great answers inside there that I know it dang froze over on me. But I really appreciate your time and you hopping on and your wisdom and your insight. And I'll post stuff starting next week, Monday.
Awesome.
And then I'll post a full episode on Friday. And then I follow you on social media, so I'll make sure to tag you in those posts.
Excellent. Thanks, man. It's been fun.
I appreciate you. Hey, best of luck against Nooksack
High School. Yep.
All right, kick some butt, Coach. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep. See you.
I'll see you.
Bye.